Okay, Signs of the Times is happy to be the media partner of the Sign Invitational, the purposes of which, as described by the organizers, are as follows. First, to encourage creative individuals to create imaginative samples for their own showroom. To encourage participants to learn new techniques and to experiment with new materials. To showcase the creativity of the participants both online and in print through our partnership with Signs of the Times. To encourage and lift up the sign industry, and last but not least, to have fun. So every year, the Sign Invitational has a different theme. This year, the theme is Go Fish. So every project you'll see is the sign artist's interpretation of that theme. The build parameters were such that each entry had to be single-sided, no larger than 2 by 2 feet, and able to be wall-mounted. And so, let's have a look at these amazing works of sign art. First, here's Cam Andra's piece. And this is from Jim Dawson. Here's Mo Flint's entry. This one is by Janie Freed. And this is by Amanda and Rusty Gibbs. Here's one by Matt Marriott. This entry is by Dan Sawatsky. And finally, one from Nancy Weil. Okay, later after you've taken in this panel discussion, you can vote for your favorite project. We'll have the link you see here in the chat and in our booth as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, so just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. For those of you watching, you can click twice to enlarge any of the entrants with their projects, and then click twice to reduce again. We're happy to take your questions in the chat, not the Q&A. Signs of the Times managing editor Grant Freaking will keep track of those and bring them up for the group after the end of each person telling you a little bit about his or her entry. So now I'd like to turn it over to the competitors alphabetically by their last names. First up is Cam Andres. So Cam, tell us a little bit about your project.
Very cool, Mark. Yeah, my entry for the year competition was the Oosterman Lure Company. Oosterman being the translation in Viking for Viking. So anyways, it's the Viking Lure Company. I did a lot of searching trying to find an appropriate name, and there still is really a Viking Lure Company, and there's a what I did is I used the runes alphabet. I was looking for an excuse to make a project that did it. And so what I've done is I've written the words Go Fish in the runes symbols. And up top, of course, there's the symbol in the runes. Pretty self-explanatory. Let's see, this is the second time I've entered this contest. The first time with Mr. Time Traveler there, and that was in 2019 at Las Vegas when we actually had the last in-person show, and that was fun, a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it and enjoyed a chance to be able to. Just to help me, I'm going to do a little screen share here.
Cam, I think you might be muted now. think we may have lost Cam for a minute.
Anyways, I'm not sure what I've done. There we go.
Well, you got about maybe one more minute, if you like. For whatever reason, when you're screen sharing, it's muting you, it looks like. Okay, well, those were certainly some cool shots. Thanks for showing us.
Okay, so I don't know how well that worked. If I seem to have lost every.
It worked so, and thanks. We'll move on now to Mo Flint. So Mo, tell us about your project.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
A message.
Hello there, ISA. I hope everybody's having a great show.
If I'm there, I'm sorry, I'm having a technical issue here.
Thanking, all the people at Signs of the Times, Dan, Jim. Thank you for setting this competition up. It's really been fantastic. So my piece is really a tribute to the intergalactic Victorian adventurer Clarence Hartwell, better known as Go Fish. And Go Fish Hartwell is an adventurer, an explorer. He started off with a very humble root in a hatchery in Australia. And one year during the annual bicycle race, he just kept going and never turned back. He explored, you can see the land, sea, and stars. Met the love of his life on Christo Omega, and just kept going from there. When I'm working on a piece like this, it's so much about telling the story. When I was a kid, I went to Knott's Berry Farm, and everything was about the old silver rush in California. The signs, the costumes, it just all came together. I want to tell the story, all the way to the little details, the button on his coat, or the buttons on his sleeves. It's all part of that story. The mountains of Venus, to his sword with the turtle shell. Those are things that the viewer won't know the backstory to. But when I create it and add those details, it adds a sense of depth that people are going to be
I think you need to mute, brothers. And
we need to do the same thing for their business. I mean, the sign is not just to give information, but it's to immerse the customer, to give them a feeling, an emotion, and that comes through storytelling. So I think it's really important to not forget that. I think I'm probably about out of time, but again, I just want to thank everybody. Hope you all have a vote today.
Okay. I muted everyone to make sure that everyone was muted. I think that's why we're getting that feedback. Let's move on to Janie, who's next. So unmute yourself. Go for it. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't have a really great story. I was just thinking about restaurants and how much I miss them and their fish. So that's my story. And I just played around with doing 3D. I've been making signs for 12, 13 years and everything is 2.5D, and I need to get into 3D. That's what I did. So I had fun with that and playing a little bit with the patinas on the luminar metal coatings. But I guess I'm kind of boring when it comes to the stories. But there's only 4 ingredients: the Coastal Enterprise HDU, my metal coating, the patinas, and clear coat. So That's all it took. That's all I got.
Okay, thanks, Janie. We'll move on then to Amanda Gibbs.
All right, am I with you guys? When Rusty and I heard that the 2021 contest was, the theme was Go Fish, we created a story and a fictional client. So our client is one Mr. Lawrence P. Frog, and he wanted a sign for his local fish and tackle shop. Mr. Frog is a lovable community member. A lot of times you'll go by his shack by the swamp and he'll be seen on this back porch playing Go Fish. He has quality products despite the shabbiness of his shack, and everybody loves him. We start each job with a design. We do a lot of drawings and concepts. We feel design as first and foremost important. So after we got the dynamic composition that we thought best suited our client, we went to making our sign. We used 3-inch core foam that we routed on our Axis CNC router. The router did the face, but we hand carved both sides of our sign. We used many layers of paint, flat Sherwin-Williams paint, using glazes and also a dry brush technique that I think achieved the weathered wood look really good. To represent Mr. Frog's quality products that he has in his shop, we gilded prismatic lettering with 23 karat gold. And we went a little bit further, and to add a little more interest, the returns of the letters has a gradation of copper to bronze on every letter. Due to his lovable nature, we decided to make Mr. Frog the centerpiece of our sign, and we did a life-size sculpture, the core of the sculpture being HDU foam and then a Magic Sculpt epoxy. We had fun with our textures. His vest is matte. We used like a thin rope for some of the details. His skin, the frog skin, we actually decided tostada chips was the best frog skin look. We used pearlescent paints, and then we top coated the frog himself with many layers of clear coat frog juice. So he's really shiny and slimy looking. We did the same treatment for the taxidermy fish head up top, although that one has a lot of pearlescent paint also. The cards we did laser engraved, and then on the front of the cards I hand drew all aces and 1 joker. Let's see. Mr. Fish likes his flies, so we put a few flies on him, as well as a very large 5-inch fishing fly and a lure here. We mounted LEDs between the HDU panel and the back panel that softly illuminates a copper leaf, a glazed copper leaf, and we have an engraved fish skeleton back there.
Okay.
I think that's it for me.
Great. Thanks very much, Amanda. Let's go on to Matt Marriott then.
Hear me? All right, so this is the first time entering the contest. Dan was very gracious in inviting me to this competition. I work for Dan Sawatsky. I have for many years now, so I feel very honored to be in this contest. This is my very first sign from concept, from design concept and through to completion. So it's a really cool process. I've worked a lot more with metal than let's say Magic Sculpt, or I don't really use a lot of HDU, but Dan was able to help me out with a few pieces on here, just from my ideas to completion. So we used the multicam plasma cutter. I called it Discount Dan's because I know that Dan hates being associated with discount, so I had to get a shot in there for him. And so everything about this is the opposite of Mr. Frog and Mr. Fish of being high quality. This is probably the lowest quality shark dive you could ever go to. So at the top, I have Discount Dan. He's a little crazy, so I did use magic sculpt for him. He's had a rough time in his life. He has a peg leg, he has a hook hand, he has an eye patch, and all ironically was at an unfortunate petting zoo incident. Nothing to do with shark diving. Then we kind of have the cage here. Again, with being a discount, you're going to get what you pay for. So the cage is kind of held together with ropes. It's patched together. There's broken pieces. You can see I have scuba tanks and bones stuck in the teeth of the shark jaw. And again, everything is just to the next degree of discount. Again, make sure that Discount Dan is very popular out there. And just certain details I like to add, chains just for pieces. I have on the hinges on the bottom, I have fish cutouts. The back, I use the HDU board, and I just painted it essentially what it would be like looking down a shark's mouth. And then the anchor kind of holds it on the wall, and I guess that's the majority of the piece. The scuba diver in there is terrified right now, but you know what? He got a good deal, so he'll come back if he survives. And that's all I got for you.
That's a great project for your first sign invitational. And I believe we have another first timer with Nancy Wild. So Nancy, tell us about yours.
Hi everyone from Vernon, BC. I had a lot of fun on this project. Thanks to Jim and Cam for encouraging me. When I'm not working at Vernon's oldest 100-year-old sign and print company, Wayside, I worked on this since January till the end of February. Had to wait till Christmas was over so I could get some of the Christmas lights out. But most weekends and after work, I enjoyed copious amounts of Netflix and working on this project. Like Mo said, it's all about the story. This is a story, if we had been in Las Vegas, was trying to go for that Las Vegas sign theme, marquee lighting. And the story is that once a year, this collection of sea creatures meets just off of the coast of BC, off of Prince Rupert, Haida Gwaii, and Alaska, at a place called Porcher Island. And they go to the Hook, Line, and Sinker Casino and Bar for a rousing competition rendezvous of Go Fish. Lots of stories to tell. It's always about the story. The card shark shows up. Ogopogo here, if you're familiar with central BC, where I'm from, we have this amazing sea creature called Ogopogo. He swims down the mighty Fraser, hits the ocean, goes north, and joins the crew. The bald eagle, Baldy the bald eagle, he brought appetizers with the salmon, came down from Alaska. Really appreciate the American connection. Their money's a lot better. The mermaid, and then our final guy, Richard, who has been in the ocean since 1973. He lives just off of Porcher Island. I have almost 40 years in the sign industry. I don't have CNC and things like that in my home shop. So all of my product is handcrafted, hand-carved HDU for Go Fish. This was to simulate a sign can, illuminated sign can. It does have cut vinyl letters. I love marquee lighting. So this was my big experiment with epoxy pour. They're actually tiny cut acrylic letters, 2 coats of epoxy. It was quite a mess, but I was quite pleased with the outcome. Hand lettered. I was a traditional sign painter back in 1985. And then because it's got grommets, I'm going to call it a banner, which is the map. I had so much fun. Lots of sculpting epoxy, dimensional work, which I learned from some of Dan's great workshops. And this is a bit of a tribute to my brother-in-law, Richard Fish. This is Richard, who lived off of Porcher Island, who loved playing Go Fish, and he said, always come back with a story. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and to Benjamin Moore, who was very generous with their paint. I think that's everything. Yeah. Thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun. Great crew.
And thank you, Nancy. And yeah, part of what's almost as impressive as the physical creations are the stories and the background, the backstories to all these makes it a lot more fun. And a lot of this information, as Grant put in the chat there, is in our preview article. Now we have 2 more to go, and those are the co-founders. That is to say, Dan Sawatsky and Jim Dawson. They wanted to talk about their projects together, but then also just about the Sign Invitational in general, and I believe even next year. So take it away, guys.
Tell us about your piece first, Jim. You're not muted yet. There you go.
Got it. Okay. Our piece is a enchanted mirror that had fell off of a crashed Spanish galleon and was recovered by mermaids. They enchanted the mirror to tell their story if it was ever found. And so the way we built the mirror is we used a 20-inch LCD monitor behind a 2-way security mirror, and we're playing a video loop on there. The materials that we used on the mirror were a 30-pound precision board, a layer of 3-inch and a layer of 1-inch to create the actual frame for the mirror. Those were all machined with X-Edge tools on our multicam CNC. We also plasma cut the background for the frame on our multicam plasma, and actually used a bunch of video loops that we had to reformat and everything to get to work correctly on the mirror. And this is one of the first pieces that we've actually used a 3D model and 3D printed some of the elements as well. So this one was near and dear to my heart. My daughter absolutely loves mermaids. So we wanted to build something this year that was impressive for her. And every time she stops in the shop, she's like, that's going on my wall, right? So I'm not sure if it's going to end up there or not. We'll probably keep it around here for a while, but I have a feeling that eventually she'll batter little puppy dog eyes and it'll end up on the wall in her room. So, but yeah, we had a blast. It was our lettering on there says "Go Fish, Make a Wish," and that was our thing. We wanted that cross between a magic mirror and a a classic mirror that would have been on one of those ships as part of the treasure that had sunken. So that's our piece there.
That's a nice piece, Jim. I think it's the best one you've done so far. We've been in it, what, 6 years now?
Yeah, 6 years. Yeah.
And we started this. It started many years ago as a dare between a bunch of sign makers, and then you and I met in Colorado at a workshop.
Yes.
And you kicked it off again. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember seeing the original mechanical fish contest with Jamie Oxenham and yourself, and I think was Doug Hafner in that one.
Yeah, there was actually 20 of those made that year.
Yeah.
But the big complaint was there was no judging and there was no winner. And everyone asked who won, and I claimed the win on that one because my piece won that year under original signs for Signs of the Times contest. So it was in the magazine. We just publicized the heck out of it. But that little dare between us inspired the Sign Invitational, which we started in Denver in a conversation.
Over a bag of chips sitting outside.
Over a bag of chips. The first year we had 12 people entered, and it was a great competition. Multicam. It was in Multicam's booth in those days, and it just grew every year. But as I recall, I didn't win the first time. You claim you came ahead of me.
Oh, I beat you badly that year.
Well, there's no record of that. but I know I took it for 3 years after that. I beat you.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I'm beating you badly this year too.
Again, first place is what counts, and you're not there. I think Matt is there, which is currently, so that's cool. Yep. But let's talk about next year. We Skype quite often, and what is the question I ask you almost every time?
If I'm done yet,
or even started. So we want to. invite everybody who's listening, and we'll announce it through Signs of the Times and elsewhere, is we're already thinking about next year. We've picked a theme. The theme is a pub sign. It's a hanging sign. We'll provide the brackets or the posts, at least, if you want to make your own bracket, and we'll have a template for that. The theme is pub. It has to be an animal, and it has to be an alliterative name. An alliterative name would be like Big Bear or Crazy Cat or something like that. Have you started your piece yet, Jim? Or
I've got
even
about
picked a
50
name?
names scribbled down in my notebook.
50 names. Okay, I've only got 3 pieces started so far.
Yeah, I was joking with you that if you didn't have them done by the time we did this today, that you were falling behind.
Yeah, well, I'm behind.
We should change the theme right now so Dan's are all obsolete.
No, I think there's too many people already involved. We've had a great response already to our informal invites because we challenge all of our friends as well as people in the magazine and stuff. And I think there's 8 or 10 people committed already.
Yeah, I think our last count was 10 that were
10 people.
already
So
committed.
so it's going to be a great competition next year. And this year's cool. There's some awesome entries. It's going to be hard to choose the best one, I'm sure. But I'm already turning the page, looking forward to the next competition. And
Yeah,
next
Dan,
year we'll be at
on just to keep it on this year's competition, and thanks for letting us know about next year. Why don't you take just a minute and wrap up your segment before we go to some questions by actually telling us about your piece, which I don't think you've done yet.
No, my piece is made out of precision board, high density urethane, a lot of sculpting epoxy, and the plasma cutter. And it's I've been enamored with submarines. We've built quite a few through the years, and there's always time for another sample on the walls. And so this will join that collection.
Terrific. Okay. So, Grant, do we have any questions yet? And actually, Grant, if you want to become the 9th square here so that you can read them out to us, that'd be great. Provided there are questions, I don't know. Seems like there should be.
While we're waiting for questions, Mo, I love your story. That was fabulous.
Okay, here's a question. So raise your hand, or we'll have several people answer these, of course. So in turns, what was your favorite part of the process in constructing these signs? Actually, why don't we? I'll pick someone. I'll play teacher, and why don't we start with Janie? Remember to unmute. Gotta unmute.
I guess my favorite part was just working on the 3D stuff and actually doing something that I haven't made any time to do before. And that's why I said, I think in the questions you asked, we should do this every month. So I'm forced to do something new because otherwise we don't do it. Can you not hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was just looking at Jim Dawson's little grin. But I had fun, and it was fun working with, because I handmade some of the patinas instead of just buying store-bought chemicals this time. So it was fun to see if I could get a little high during the process or not. And it was all fun.
Cool. How about you, Cam? What was your favorite part?
I'm not going to share my screen. No, I never had feedback like that before.
Wow.
You can hear me okay? Yes?
Without feedback now,
Yeah.
yes, thanks.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, using the laser was probably the most fun of mine. I experimented a lot. And are you getting the feedback that I'm?
Yeah, we are. So sorry, thanks. But so using the laser, you said was the most fun. So that's great.
Yeah. I don't know why my audio is.
All right. Well, maybe he'll get that sorted out. Anybody else want to chip in on their favorite part?
I would just say my favorite part is Cam's feedback. I think that was, I didn't expect that today. That was very exciting.
Definitely adds interest. Amanda, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say that the person that's not here and the co-creators, my husband and partner, Rusty Gibbs, I think my favorite part was really getting to work with him back like we used to when we just started our business. A lot of times, like, I'll take on a project and I'll mainly be the lead of it, or he will mainly be the lead of it. But with these competitions, we work or fight together until we're both satisfied. And that was fun. We played.
Nice. How about Matt? This was your first one, and you were saying this is your first project from that you thought up yourself and all the way to completion. Usually you work in a team setting. So what was your favorite part of, the various aspects of putting this all together?
Yeah, I mean, I get to work on amazing projects every single day here, but to have something come out of my own head and actually be able to create it is probably one of the coolest things that I got to do. As soon as I heard the theme, I thought it'd be cool to do a big shark's mouth. So the process of going from the picture in your head to get it to start to build it and see it come together is probably one of the coolest things that I got to experience. And again, I'm so lucky that I get to work on stuff like that every single day, but it was extra special that I got to have from start to completion everything. I can say that I did it, and I enjoyed the whole process of it and learned a lot while doing it as well.
Excellent. And one of my favorite details from putting together the feature article, which again, there's a link there, and it's in our current edition of Signs of the Times. In fact, you can see it's our cover story. There's Mo's project on our cover, Fishtails. One of my favorite details is I believe it was Nancy who said she watched or listened to several Netflix series in the background as she was working on this every afternoon for months, from the new year on. So that was cool. That was you, right, Nancy?
Yeah, it was a great companion in the shop, and I watched, if you can imagine, Sons of Anarchy. It was just it was always entertaining. I had lots of fun. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So why don't let's go on to another question here. This one is from Sarah, our intern at Signs of the Times. Was there a certain material or technique you wanted to work with that you haven't before? I know there were a number of you taking up the challenge. So Jim, why don't you go for it?
Yeah, so we've been for years searching for a way to make durable algae on our pizzas. So we a method of mixing a few different glues with HDU dust and colorants to make a durable algae on the outside of a piece. And then another cool thing that we did is we've been working with another way to do, we love our glazing techniques and the way it ages things, but the challenges with that are like sometimes you have a piece that you want to do like some weather spotting, like what would happen if salt water hit it, or what would happen if rain hit it and washed dirt down the face. So we started working with some denatured alcohol and acrylic inks, and we can do very little bit of ink in the alcohol and spray it on and dab it on in places, and what it does is it softens the paint and then deposits the ink and then hardens back up. So we can do 15 to 20 coats of alcohol aging over the top of something and make it look like salt water, or like raindrops had run down, or things like that. So it's a little bit different, like an add-on to our glazing process that kind of prematurely ages things and gives you a look that you really couldn't get otherwise.
Is that light fast?
Go ahead.
Is that light fast?
Yes.
Cool.
Anybody else want to chip in on a new material or technique that they experimented with? Go ahead, Mo.
So I'll say something that I had never worked with before was smoke. And so I wanted to try that out for my fish guy, because fish and pipes just seem to go together. And the trick is it's small. You know, his pipe is you know, maybe a couple of inches tall. And so making a little custom smoke machine to fit inside that pipe was tricky and educational. So there are a lot of things that I hadn't worked on before. I think in the future I'll try other methods. I don't do a lot of special effects in my work, but for a competition like this, it's fun to try. I mean, that's part of what we're doing here, is trying new things.
In sign invitational competitions in the past, there have been all kinds of amazing, interesting things. One year the theme was Tesla or something electrical, and one contestant made a floating sign. He used He's Not Among Us, Douglas Hancock was his name. Terrific project. Didn't even win somehow, and yet his sign was like floated on a magnetic thing, and it would spin and everything, and people thought it was attached, and they'd come and they'd want to give it a spin and they'd knock it off the thing. But super creative, and also a lot of time. And he said that he would be able to put that to use in his sign making in the future. And also, just to remind everyone, no matter what happens, with the voting, all of these folks have created tremendous showpieces to have in their shops to greet customers who come in, to immediately show them their creativity in terms of imagination and skill in terms of production value and execution of materials. So that's another main reason, of course, to enter and appreciate the Sign Invitational, is because it comes back to sign making, after the project is finished. In the article, we also talked a little bit about some of the primary challenges some people had. Anybody want to weigh in? Anybody who's not spoken for a little while? Maybe Cam's back on headset. Either he's landing some planes or he solved his feedback problem. So Cam, you want to?
Let's see if this works.
It's working. All right.
Yeah. There's just a terrible.
Tell us about either techniques, materials, or a challenge you faced.
I tried many different lures. I had lures like this. I had lures like that. I had lures like this.
Each one's getting bigger.
And it just kept on and kept on and kept on, and it just kept on. And then finally, this one was the one that I liked. So it's just kind of crazy, especially if you got lots of time because of COVID, and you got extra time on your hands to goof around and experiment. So, and right now I'm talking with a 2-second loop in my head, so I don't normally talk like this, but
maybe you have yourself on two delays in case you need to bleep yourself. I understand. This is a family program, and we are being recorded. Remember. Great. So you had a lot of time. You said I know a lot of the participants didn't have so much time. Anybody want to talk about how tough it was to fit things in? Because my understanding is Matt welcomed a new baby daughter into his life, and so that certainly cuts time short. And Dan also wanted to say something, so maybe the two of them can talk about that.
When people come into my shop, they look at all our samples and they always say, "Oh, I wish I had time to do that." And my point is to anyone I talk to is my days only have 24 hours in them too. We struggle with the same supply issues, in fact, probably more so than our American friends. And yet we find time to make samples regularly. And this competition is a great motivator. And hopefully lots of people take up the challenge. And Matt was especially time constrained this year too. As you said, he welcomed a beautiful baby daughter into the world. And he's suddenly found out that his time wasn't all his own anymore. It's amazing. So.
Yeah, that was crazy. I did start. That's probably how Dan always picks on people for not starting fast enough. I waited till after she was born to start, and that definitely made the time restraints very difficult. But a few early mornings, and got her done.
Mo, you wanted to say?
I wanted to say that the sun doesn't come up until 6 o'clock. And so there is plenty of time between putting the kids to bed and waking them up in the morning. And we can all do it. I'm not as young as I used to be, but this was important and it was worth it. This is the third competition that I've been a part of, and it's just a fantastic experience. So I really hope that more people will join. And you don't have to do, the most elaborate piece. You just have to do something, get started, jump in. 3 years ago, I'd never worked on a sign before. And, I met Jim, I met Dan, I met a bunch of people who were doing it, and now I'm doing it too. And I think that, like I say, it's worth taking the time. A lot of people have a lot of obligations, but I understand that. It's worth it in the end. Working with all these people has been great.
Right. I can tell that it's not just the end piece that all of you like to have. You must really all enjoy the hours, whether it was 20 hours from Matt, or I think a lot of you, the common amount was around 60 hours, and some of you more than that. And in the past, when the projects have been larger and more elaborate, even more than that, that's 100 hours of love that you're spending, and we can really tell. It shows. So we have maybe 5-ish minutes to conclude. Oh, here's another question. How many of you, whether you're a first-time entrant or not, were triple dog dared to enter by Jim or Dan? Right, great question, Grant. So there we go, Amanda. And others have cited, I think Janie was mentioning, weren't you, that Cam and Jim were, encouraged you. Sorry, that was Nancy. Janie must have been Dan who invited her. But yeah, so lots of dares. So any concluding comments? As I said, we have maybe 5-ish more minutes left.
I just wanted to mention something about time, because everybody has short amount of times. There's no eighth day of the week. But I am a mom of 2 kids, and it was COVID, and we Zoomed in school. I was spending until noon maybe at home with the kids, and then ran and we still had deadlines and stuff. But these projects are so much fun. And for some reason, I didn't wait until after bedtime. And when I woke up, I somehow just managed to squeak in a couple hours here and there every day. And if you start early, it actually works out just fine. So it's worth it.
Right. Good point. Yeah. Anybody else? Dan, go ahead.
In our shop is I've already started my pieces for next year.
Of course.
And I use it as a reward. There's always things that we do in the daytime that we perhaps don't enjoy quite as much as other things. And so I'll say, okay, if I put in 2 solid hours on this, then I'll go and spend 15 or 20 minutes on my piece, because we all waste 15 or 20 minutes every day. And if those 15 or 20 minutes are put into a sample like this, they can bring us tens of thousands of dollars of work down the road. Because unless people can see what you can create, they have no idea. So that's why we started this competition. That's why it's important.
Excellent use of that time. Jim, did you have anything to add here at the end?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest driving factors for me whenever I started talking to Dan about the contest was I started to see the value of hanging out with people in the industry by going to Dan's first class, and then we now teach classes here at my studio. Just getting around other creatives and sharing knowledge. And, you know, when I started in this industry 17 years ago, there weren't a whole lot of people sharing. And this contest, like anybody that enters, if you don't know how to do something, you've got access to everybody that's been in it. You got access to me, you got access to Dan. We help everybody out, and we'll help you with tooling and materials and all of the things that it helps you to learn and to make that piece that's going to, you know, show well at the contest. So it's one of those things where I believe that you need to do time with friends and like-minded people, and this contest goes a long way to help with stuff like that.
Right. We have a question from Nancy, one of our panelists, asking where next year's expo is. Maybe one of the good people from ISA can answer that. I don't really know.
I thought I saw Atlanta.
Okay. All right. That's what I've heard. And then as for do we enter, are we invited? Well, my understanding is it's called the Invitational. So it seems like it's, you know, like the Masters is an invitational. So to that extent, you are invited, but anyone can send in an idea at first, and then they kind of get invited. So Jim or Dan could correct that or refine it as needed. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've never turned anyone down who's wanted to enter. Basically, we want you to send us your contact information so we can put you in the loop, and then encourage each other all the way through. Again, as Jim said, if you have questions or need help with something, or even design, whatever you need, we're there to help you. The whole purpose is, there is a trophy, but I've never seen it after I made it. Even then.
Right.
That's not
it's
what
over
this is
here
about.
on my shelf.
Yeah, it's on your shelf. The guy who's never won it. Story, Jim. I'll never stop.
The winner gets one of Cam's many lures.
There you go.
Yeah, for real. Catch a big fish.
All those rejects.
Some of those.
No, it's just so much fun. I think the one common denominator of all the people, the scores of people who have entered through the years, without fail, they always say, this is the most fun I've had, which is, and I think everyone here will echo that, it is just fun to create a piece. We're all stifled by budgets and customers who want weird things and all kinds of time constraints. Here's one project where if you start it now, you have a whole year and there are no constraints. We have size limitations, and we add the word ish after all those. No one's going to judge you if you're an inch too big or 3 inches too big or 8 inches too big. We don't care. The trick is that you enter and have fun doing it.
Amen to that. Okay. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of our time. Any very final thoughts from anyone? Quickly?
Just real quick, anybody that's interested in entering, you can find us at www.thesigninvitational.com, and there's a contact form there where you can send your info in, and that will send us an email, and we will get back in touch with you and help you through the process of getting entered and any help you may need. So.
Thanks. Right. And as Dan and Jim, I think, said, they'll be announcing that through Signs of the Times and other sources, but Signs of the Times is proud to have been the media partner for this for a number of years now. So we're happy to participate in the way that we can.
We
All right.
appreciate-
Yep. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, everybody. And may the best
Yeah,
project win.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Take care, everybody.